Hey, welcome to another episode of All American Cooking. I am your host, Michael Allen, and today we are really getting into the All American Cooking. Comfort food at its finest. I've got a roasted chicken over some root vegetables with the most amazing gravy in the world. I didn't get to film all parts of this because I am still only working with just my iPhone, and some of the things had to happen at the same time that I couldn't film it all. So I'll give you a brief description now. And we began by dry brining the chicken. And what does that mean? There's wet brines where you make a salt and sugar and water or liquid solution and you soak it overnight. A dry brine is simply salt. So when you take your whole chicken out of the package, pat it dry with paper towels inside and out, get rid of the giblets and the neck and everything like that, and then just sprinkle some kosher salt all over the whole thing, inside and out. Throw it on a rack, on a sheet pan, into the fridge, uncovered overnight. There's your dry brine. That's going to help season it internally. That's going to help keep moisture inside. It's going to help the skin to get crispier. And then the second component to this was the slow roast. My oven was at 225. This was about a 3 1/4 pound chicken, 225 degrees, about 2.5 hours. And then once the internal temp got to about 150, 155, I blasted the oven to 425. Went another 10 to 15 minutes just to help brown and crisp the skin up a little bit. We do a roasted garlic compound butter, which you've seen our garlic compound butter on this channel on previous videos. In this one, we use roasted garlic. I explain all of that. The gravy that I made for this was just outstanding. Unfortunately, I didn't get any footage of me actually cooking the gravy, but I'll describe to you how to make it. Everything will be in the description below, the entire recipe. You will see me make this gravy on future videos. So a lot going on. Lots been happening. Sorry that I haven't posted in a few weeks. I think it's actually been about a month, but I do have other videos coming out within the next few days. So I hope you've already subscribed to this channel, hit the notification bell. That way you know when I do post new videos. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what else you want to see me make. Let me know any tips, pointers that you may have for me, especially in the video recording and editing department, because I'm still working on that. And thank you for all your support. This channel's been growing significantly. It's only a couple months into it, and it's doing really well. So I appreciate you all for that. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave me a comment below. Read the description to get the recipe and all the intricacies of how I did this. And enjoy the video. And thanks again for watching. Let's get into this. So let's start with our roasted garlic compound butter. Now, roasted garlic is very simple to make. You simply lop the head off of, or the portion of the head of a garlic to expose all the cloves. Drizzle a little olive oil, sprinkle with salt and pepper, wrap it up in foil, throw it into a 400-degree oven for 45 to 50 minutes. Pull it out, let it cool a little bit until you can at least handle it. And then you can see here how it just squeezes right out. Roasted garlic is much sweeter, carries a lot of health benefits, and it's going to do amazing things for this compound butter and this chicken recipe. So just like with our previous garlic butter, we're going to add some parsley to this. Now, a couple of people have asked me, seeing the limp parsley that I had, on one of my previous videos, ways to keep it fresh. It's very simple. When you buy fresh parsley, you can trim off the bottom stems and put it into a cup and just fill it up an inch or so with water. Wrap a bag around the leaves and keep it in your fridge, and that parsley will stay nice and fresh. And then talking about roasted garlic, now it's very, as I mentioned, very easy to make your own homemade roasted garlic. Just expose it, cutting your garlic head to expose the cloves, olive oil, salt, pepper, 400-degree oven, 45, 50 minutes. Now, if you don't have the time to do that, you can buy roasted garlic paste at the store. It works. It's good. It's okay. I prefer to use it for sauces and things like that, but it doesn't have the truly sweet flavor of homemade roasted garlic. So definitely, if you have the time, do your roasted garlic homemade. So with the parsley, we've seen this before. We've done this before. You've seen me chop up fresh herbs. Just roll it up into a nice tight little bundle, and then start slicing away. And if you want it rough chopped, if you want it fine chopped, however you want it. But begin by rolling it up, slicing away. Once you slice through, then you just turn your knife and rock back and forth and get your parsley chopped to the desired consistency. So as before, we add our parsley, we'll add some salt and pepper. Now you'll see in this bowl that the butter is cut up. This is because I did not soften the butter ahead of time, and I did this intentionally to teach you something. I told you in the last video that I made a compound butter to use softened butter, but if you don't have the time to soften your butter, there's a way around that. I've got my oven preheating at 225. Just the warmth on the top of my oven is enough. So as you see, I will fail with a butter knife. I will fail even more miserably with a pastry cutter. Just throw that bowl on top of your oven for a little while. Go ahead and do what you're doing. And as it starts to soften, just take a fork and just mash it up and mix it up, and your garlic compound butter, roasted garlic compound butter, will be fine. So let's look at our root vegetables. We're going to start off with turnips. I'm using 3 turnips in this recipe. We're going to start off, we're just going to cut off the top end where the green is, and then we'll go to the bottom end. We'll lop that kid off. And now we're just going to basically just peel the outside skin off. We don't want that excess skin in there. And I like to cut those ends off so that you can see I just turn it like a wheel. It makes it much easier to peel this bad boy. So once we've got this kid peeled, we're going to go ahead and make one nice slice right down the middle widthwise. Give us a couple of nice little turnip discs. And then we're going to go ahead and make a couple of slices about a ½ inch or so, a little give or take, right across the entire thing. And then we're going to just turn it, and we're going to cut perpendicular the same way so that we get nice, fairly even sizes. Now, I like to say that cut everything into even pieces so that it cooks evenly. We're throwing that out for this recipe because I've got different vegetables that cook at different times, so they'll be different sized. But I also want to have a mixture of textures as I'm cooking, as these slow roast with the chicken. So some of the parts are going to get nice and soft. Some of them will be a little bit firmer. Some of them will be tender crisp. This here is a parsnip. Looks like a giant white carrot, I know. And you basically treat it like a carrot. You're going to go ahead and peel it. And once we peel it, we're going to chop it up into sections and then dice up those sections. Now, I should mention again that normally you want everything uniform in size because that way it cooks evenly. Dealing with these 3 different root vegetables, parsnips cook longer than turnips. Turnips are a little softer, and carrots cook longer than all of them. So the end result was a nice blend of textures. Again, there was some very soft root vegetables in the dish, and some of them were a little more firm, and some of them had a little bit of crunch, a little bit of tender, crisp crunch. Now, if you're not looking for that, obviously, when you're cutting everything up, cut it accordingly to how the vegetable cooks. The carrots, you would want to cut the smallest because they will take the longest to cook or get softened. Also, you could, if you wanted to, if you had the time, you could take, especially the parsnips and the carrots, and parboil them so that they'll get the same soft texture that the parsnips get when you cook them down. So you'll notice here that I bring out this paper towel when I'm peeling. I just find it makes it a little bit easier to keep all the peel together rather than continuously cleaning up my entire board. We just throw the paper towel off to the side. So this recipe ultimately used 3 large carrots, 3 turnips, and 2 good-sized parsnips. This blend of root vegetables really just absorbs all the drippings from the chicken, makes a delicious side, and a lot of health benefits to it. So I hope that you're going to follow along with this recipe. Now, if you want to add things like garlic or potatoes or celery, I mean, this is just a template. You do you. So with this carrot, I'm cutting it a couple of different ways. You'll see that I cut the one section of the carrot half-wise and then cut it into slices like this. Now this next one I cut half-wise, but we're going to turn the knife on an angle and cut it on the bias. I like to have different shapes for my carrots. So that's another way you can do it. Again, we're not looking for all the same size pieces because I want them to cook differently. I want the various textures. If you don't want the various textures, then make sure you're keeping everything uniform in size. And this last bit of carrot here, I'm not even going to cut in half. I'm going to cut the bias slices first, and then I'll cut those in half. So just showing you different ways that you can cut carrots. Take your time. If you got a good sharp knife, be careful not to cut yourself, but a couple of different ways that you can cut the carrots for this dish. So when you're done cutting up your vegetables, as I cut up this last little bit of parsnip and add it to the pool of flavor, go ahead and give these guys a gentle toss just to combine, make sure that all the different vegetables are well incorporated. We're going to go ahead and hit it with some extra virgin olive oil. And then, again, just shake the bowl, rock them back and forth. We're looking for a fairly even coating. Just a light coating. We're not looking for big pools of oil. Just a light coating. So kind of give these guys a gentle toss. Get everybody evenly coated. Add a little more oil if you need to. And then season with kosher salt and black pepper. I happen to be using a peppercorn blend that contains black peppercorns, green peppercorns, and white peppercorns. I'll leave a link in the description below. If you don't have that, just black pepper is fine. Once they're seasoned, give them another toss to make sure they're evenly coated. And once your oiled and seasoned vegetables are well incorporated, we're going to break out the sheet pan with a rack. Remove the rack. Go ahead and pour the vegetables directly onto the sheet pan. They've already got the oil on them, so they shouldn't stick. Go ahead and spread those kids out. Try to make them as even as possible. And then when you put the rack back on top, if it doesn't sit evenly, just rock those kids back and forth. Give them a little shake. Get it as even as you possibly can, because now comes our beautiful dry brined chicken. We're going to peel this kid off and switch him from the dry brining rack to the roasting rack, sitting right over those beautiful root vegetables. And we're going to put some aromatics inside the cavity. I've got a chunk of lemon that I'm going to cut into a couple of smaller pieces. We're also going to add some onion and some garlic. These are aromatics. They're not necessarily meant to be eaten. It's just to help enhance the flavor from within. So get your hands dirty. I know for some people this part is kind of gross, but deal with it, man. It's cooking. It's gonna pay off in the end. So you see, I've got a half of an onion here. I'm cutting a nice thick chunk off of that bad boy, and then cutting it in half. I'm gonna shove that kid up into the cavity. And then the garlic cloves, 3 or 4 of them I think I've got. Tap it with the flat side of the knife. Makes it a little easier to peel the paper off. And we'll go ahead and shove those kids into the bird. So inside the bird, we've got lemon, garlic, and onion. These are your aromatic vegetables. And fruit. Lemon's a fruit. It's going to really bring out the flavor of this bird. So trust me when I say this is an important step. Now, with gloved hands, because I got sick of washing my hands intermittently between everything that I did, I like to tie the legs up. Keep those kids nice and close together. Helps with more even cooking, and it also helps to keep those aromatics inside the cavity. So get yourself some butcher twine and tie those kids off. And then I like to tuck the wings inside, but before we do that, remember our beautiful roasted garlic compound butter that's been sitting on top of the preheated oven. So it's nice and soft now. It's nice and mushy. So our first step is get the skin. You're going to stick your hands, your fingers, underneath the skin of the breast to separate the skin from the breast meat as best as you can, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to take some fistfuls of this beautiful compound butter underneath the skin, right onto that gorgeous breast meat. So take your time doing this. Be careful not to tear the skin if you can, and just spread that butter all around inside under the skin. Now, if you were thinking that stopping at underneath the skin with the butter was prudent, then you were wrong, because we don't want to stop there. We want to go ahead and we want to take this garlic compound butter and just cover this bird every inch. I'm talking outside, breast, inside, in the cavity, the wings, the wing pits, armpits, whatever the parts are. Cover this bird, front, back, sides. Get this thing well coated. Try not to use all of the butter. We do want to reserve a little bit, and you'll see why in a few minutes. But just go ahead and just work this bird like a professional Swedish masseuse and cover it with this gorgeous garlic compound butter. So once you've completely violated your chicken with the garlic compound butter, go ahead and tuck those wings underneath. That'll prevent the wing tips from burning. And we've got a nice little package that we're going to throw into a 225-degree oven for the next 2.5 hours. So while the bird is in the oven for the next 2.5 hours, your excess butter that you had left over is going to go into a small pot. I've got a little cast iron kid here, and we're going to put that just right on top of the oven and let the residual heat from the exterior of the oven melt it. And then after 2.5 hours, look at this beautiful bird. Oh my God. So after 2.5 hours, the temperature was 155 inside. So I blasted it to 425, left it in for an additional 15 minutes. That helped finish the cooking, crisp and brown up the skin. Now we're going to take that mostly melted roasted garlic butter, and we're just going to baste this kid. Oh, if you could smell what's happening right now, trust me, you really want to do this. It's the best thing in the world. So the chicken rests, we throw the vegetables into a separate dish, and we're gonna go ahead and take the pan drippings, whatever little bit of pan drippings there were, we're just gonna pour it right over those vegetables, mix those around. I've got the gravy already making on the stove. I will leave the recipe for the gravy in the description below. And it's time to carve. Let's start off by getting rid of this butcher's twine that was holding the legs together. I haven't even cut into the thing, and you see the juice running off of it. There it goes into that little channel. This cutting board has a channel to collect juice. It didn't hold it very well. So first thing we want to do is we want to remove one of the breasts. We're going to cut right along the breastbone, and then we're going to turn the knife to the side. We're going to cut underneath the breast so that we can remove the breast in one large piece before we cut it up into slices. But it's so difficult to do because it's still so hot, even though it's been resting for going on 15 minutes now. So be careful. Don't burn yourself like I am when I'm doing this, but I just didn't want to wait anymore. I wanted to get this thing plated. I wanted to taste it. You can see how tender and juicy that breast meat is. And as we get this breast off, oh, it smells so amazing. I'm doing everything I can to stop myself from licking my fingers at this point, seriously. So there's our breast. And now let's cut our leg off, and I want you to look here just as I cut this leg. Watch the splash of juice. Oh, it's unbelievable. So you can see Tony coming up with the paper towel there. Tell me what you think.
Good chicken is here. Needs a little bit of pineapple. I'm like a pizza, I know, right? So that's really good, man.
Fucking delicious, isn't it?
I know, right?
So now it's time to plate. So I've got my sliced chicken breast and my chicken leg sitting on my plate here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add a couple of nice spoonfuls of these gorgeous roasted root vegetables. Some of them are super soft, some of them are a little firmer, some of them are tender crisp. Exactly what I was looking for, a nice combination of textures. And here's this beautiful gravy. This gravy is absolutely insane. Again, the recipe will be in the description below. Sorry that I wasn't able to film myself making it. I will make this gravy on future videos so that you can see it being made, but it's just amazing. And as always, I like to finish with a little green. We've got enough parsley in the garlic compound butter, so I went with some green onions sliced on the bias. Makes the dish look pretty. Here comes your gratuitous food porn. Look at that. Did you see all the juice that was coming out of it? These roasted vegetables, the chicken, I mean, the gravy's so easy to make. I didn't film me making the gravy, but I'll leave a link in the description below so you know how to make it. So let me get a bite of this here. I'm gonna start with a little bit of the carrot, the turnip, parsnip. I get all three in there. Tender, delicious. They took in all the juice from the chicken, all the drippings that you would usually use to make gravy. They absorbed that all. Oh, the flavor is just remarkable. All right, so now I have to get a piece of this chicken here. And normally I don't like the breast. Normally I'm more dark meat, thighs, cheaper, more flavor, juicier. But you saw how much juice was in that. I mean, just, yeah. That is just perfection on a fork. Telling you, the dry brine, the slow roast, that is the way to go. That's just the way to go. Everything will be in the description. Make this. It's phenomenal. Perfect Sunday dinner for you and your family. Don't eat boring food. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Ring that little notification bell so that way you know when I post new videos. And I'll see you next time on All American Cooking. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.